Lesson 7 is our section on the information security management process, and it has 7 objectives. First, we'll understand the objectives and basic concepts of information security management. Next, we'll learn some vocabulary associated with information security management. We'll also understand what goes into an information security policy and where it fits in with a security framework called the Information Security Management System, or the ISMS. We'll also quickly review the interfaces between the information security management process and other processes within the service lifecycle. And we'll finish up by learning the activities associated with the role of the Information Security Manager. The main objective of information security management is to protect organizations and their communication systems from harm caused by failures of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The acronym for these 3 words is CIA, because when you think of security, you think of the CIA. Confidentiality means that only the right people can see the data that they're supposed to. Integrity means that the data is accurate, complete, and hack-resistant. And availability means that the data is available or up when the person is supposed to be able to reach it. The word availability has a star next to it, and I wanted to show you that availability here means the same thing that availability meant in the availability management lesson. Availability simply means, can you get to it? Is it up and running? You can also find the definitions of these 3 words, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, in the book that came with this DVD. It's important to note that it's the business that defines the level of protection that information security is going to provide. That might sound a little counterintuitive, but think about it. The business is footing the bill for information security and all of IT, so they have to pick and choose what they're willing to spend their money on. So it's the business that defines the level of security that they need, and that information security provides the protection. Now, in real life, information security will certainly provide advice and guidance, but it's really the business that's calling the shots. When you think of your own company, you probably had to sign or at least read a portion of your company's information security policy. This policy usually outlines the acceptable use of your company's equipment, what you're allowed to send via email and what you're not, what websites you're allowed to access, an antivirus policy, a password policy, and all that. You don't need to memorize this list at all, but you'll notice that I bolded something here, access control policy. Your company has a master list someplace that shows what people or groups of people are allowed to have access to what. For example, only the people in human resources can see your payroll and health insurance data. Sally in marketing cannot. Or only the network and server administrators have card or badge access to get into the data center. All of these different flavors of security are designed and determined here in the service design phase, and specifically by someone in information security. When we get to Chapter 5, our service operation chapter, we'll learn about a process called access management. That process is responsible for executing this access control portion of the information security policy. So we write the policy proactively here in service design, but we actually click to grant or deny someone access to something as a reactive activity using the access management process in service operation. The information security policy is part of an overall information security framework, which also contains processes, standards, guidelines, and tools that help ensure that an organization can achieve its information security objectives. The basic gist is, first we need to start off with this control phase, where we allocate the responsibilities and just kind of get the show on the road. Next, we enter into the planning phase, where we work with our service level manager to ensure that our SLAs, OLAs, underpinning contracts all have information security policy statements in them. Next, we move to the implementation phase, where we create an awareness by training our employees. And by training our employees, we mean everyone: IT people, business people, end users, front desk security guards, suppliers, vendors. So we're going to train everyone about our information security policy. We'll also come up with procedures for how to deal with security-related incidents and breaches. We move on to the evaluation phase, where we do some internal and external audits and self-assessments, and we pull a list of all security-related incidents to see if there's any patterns or helpful information to help us tighten things up. And then we enter a maintenance mode by taking action based on what we learned during evaluation. This is a circular process, so it's not enough to do it once. There's always room for improvement, especially in security, since threats are always changing. The good news is that you don't need to memorize this image, which was taken directly from the Service Design book and contains more information than you'll need for a foundation level exam. But you do need to remember that the ISMS stands for Information Security Management System. We've already established that the three key terms of information security management are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Because again, when you think of security, you think of the CIA. But we've heard the word availability before as part of availability management. And the three processes most closely related to information security management spell AIA for availability management, information security management, and access management. Now, pretty much everything we do should be done with security on the brain, and many other processes have security considerations built in, but these are the three that interface the most. Other processes that need to consider information security management are these guys right here. A good rule of thumb, because you can see that there are many processes listed here, is that almost every process needs to have some kind of security guidance. For the exam, you'll need to remember what CIA stands for and what each of those words' definitions are. And you'll also need to remember that these three processes go hand in hand. Most of the folks in the roles for the processes we've already talked about probably aren't full-time positions. For instance, you probably won't have one person with capacity manager written on their business card, because lots of capacity management activities are done by server people and network people and applications people just as they go about their daily routines. But chances are your organization will have a person or even a group of people with information security manager written on their business card. An information security manager has many duties, and some of them are: first, they're the process owner of the information security management process, which means that they do the DEMI duties associated with this process. The DEMI duties of the information security management process owner can be found in the book that came with this DVD. In addition, they develop and maintain an information security policy, and they also ensure that everyone is aware of it and complying with it. They'll also perform security risk analyses and some risk management activities. And if we have any security breaches or incidents, they'll most likely take charge of these. Also, anytime there's a change that needs to be put in place, the Information Security Manager will eyeball those changes for any impact on our security controls and capabilities. They'll also provide security-related tests to make sure that we have our vulnerabilities plugged. And lastly, they'll make sure that CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, is maintained as we've agreed to in our SLAs. This roll slide wraps up Lesson 7. Let's move on to a very quick lesson, Lesson 8, called Supplier Management.